Get ready to explore the best RPGs available on Xbox Game Pass. Starting at number 20, we have Mount & Blade II Bannerlord. Bannerlord is an ambitious project from Taleworlds that blends action RPG elements with strategy mechanics, creating a unique experience that sets it apart from other games in the market. Players start with nothing and gradually build their mercenary group, ultimately seeking to conquer territories and expand their influence. Mount & Blade 2 may be overwhelming, especially for those who haven't played the previous games, but it has the potential to satisfy a particular gaming itch that no other title on Game Pass can offer. Next, we have Black Desert. Released on PC in 2014, Black Desert Online is steadily approaching its 10-year anniversary, although the Xbox One version was only released in 2019. MMORPGs are notorious for being time-consuming, and once they grip a player, they tend to keep them hooked. Black Desert is no exception, and the action-packed game is bursting with content. If someone decides to delve into this title, it will likely be the only RPG on Game Pass they play for months. While Black Desert highlights a few of the MMORPG genre's more frustrating elements, such as over-reliance on grinding and microtransactions, it also represents the category at its best. The combat system is fast-paced and highly enjoyable, backed by a deep class system that offers plenty of flexibility for character builds. Despite its age, the game is also stunningly beautiful. Number 18, The Outer Worlds. The balancing act that is The Outer Worlds carries all the calling cards that developer Obsidian is known for, delivering a game with meaty mechanical depth and expert storytelling in a fine fashion. The players are presented with a lot of agency in shaping their narrative impact on the colonies after being rescued from an ill-fated colony ship by a liberty-loving fugitive Phineas Wells. They can decide their own path, whether it's through the use of big guns, big words, or big brains. The atmosphere of Halcyon is beautifully sardonic and darkly humorous, which makes even the heavy-handed social commentary of Fallout New Vegas pale in comparison to its hilarious corporate caricatures. And while you're there, be sure to try the Saltuna. Number 17, Pillars of Eternity 2. Obsidian Entertainment has firmly established itself as a leading developer in the RPG sphere, and Pillars of Eternity may well be the company's crowning achievement. While both entries in the series rank among the best role-playing games on Xbox Game Pass, Pillars of Eternity 2 gets the nod as it saw the franchise evolve beyond its Baldur's Gate roots into something more unique. This pirate-themed isometric RPG provides players with a ship and a crew to sail the ocean, allowing them to visit a multitude of islands and take part in naval battles throughout their journey. The story is solid, but Deadfire shines the brightest in its combat, customization, and sense of discovery. Next, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of War. While the game's initial release was marred by a grind-heavy final act that relied heavily on microtransactions, those pay-to-win elements have since been removed. Today, Shadow of War is a much-improved game that builds upon the solid foundations established in Shadow of Mordor to create an action-packed adventure set in the Lord of the Rings universe. One of the game's standout features is its massive map, which players can explore as they unlock new abilities and engage in thrilling combat. However, the real highlight of Shadow of War is its Nemesis system, which allows players to build rivalries with the game's orcs. This unique system makes each playthrough feel adaptive and unique, and few things in gaming are as satisfying as finally besting an orc who has been causing trouble. Moving on to number 15, we have Wasteland 3. All 3 Wasteland games are available on Xbox Game Pass, and each one builds upon the last to create an even better experience. Wasteland 3 is a challenging turn-based RPG that will remind players of classic Fallout titles. It boasts a dark sense of humor and a desire to constantly challenge players with difficult decisions. The game's deep and flexible combat system should keep players engaged throughout its considerable length. Wasteland 3's story and world building are also top-notch, providing players with a rich and immersive world to explore. Additionally, for those who want to travel through Colorado with a friend, co-op is available, making the experience even more enjoyable. At number 14, we have Mortal Shell, which can be considered a Souls-like game. The majority of core gameplay elements will be immediately familiar to those who are experienced with From Software's iconic catalog. However, Mortal Shell has its own distinct identity and nuances. One major facet that sets it apart is its use of shells. Players start off as a vulnerable slab of beef jerky and can inhabit several different bodies or shells, each with unique playstyles and capabilities as they progress. Mortal Shell also features other unique mechanics, along with bombastic boss fights demanding sensitive timing and a decrepit moldering world in need of a savior. Fans of Dark Souls will feel right at home. Number 13, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This game is another addition to Team Ninja's fascination with Souls-like games, and while it borrows some ideas from Nioh, the 2023 release is a unique experience in its own right. Wolong is set during the Han Dynasty in China and combines supernatural and mythical elements with historical figures to take players on a fairly lengthy campaign with an over-the-top but serviceable storyline. Ultimately, the strength of the gameplay is what makes or breaks such projects, and Team Ninja has generally excelled in this area. Wolong's combat seems like a more streamlined version of Nioh's offering, emphasizing deflecting attacks above everything else. Game Pass doesn't have many full-blown Souls-like games on its roster, and Wolong is one of the more obvious additions. The game is fast-paced and generally challenging, while still providing a few aids for players who may need them. Yakuza Like a Dragon is at number 12. While there are already many well-established JRPG franchises, this game brought a surprising twist by replacing its traditional beat-em-up combat with a turn-based battle system. Like a Dragon takes the Yakuza series in an exciting new direction while paying tribute to classic properties such as Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. With a new protagonist and setting, this entry provides an excellent starting point for newcomers to the series. It's also a must-play for anyone who enjoyed the stories but disliked the gameplay of previous Yakuza games. Number 11, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered. Originally released as a PS3 exclusive, this action JRPG tells the story of Oliver, a young child who travels to a fantasy realm filled with heartbroken people after losing his mother. To fix things, he embarks on a journey, makes a few companions, collects monsters known as familiars, and visits gorgeous and unique cities. The game features cutscenes by Studio Ghibli, matching stunning visuals with strong and emotive writing. While the combat system can be a bit frustrating, the game's positives far outweigh its negatives. If you are enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Next, we have Torment Tides of Numenera. Inspired by one of the all-time great RPGs, Planescape Torment, this game is a unique beast that emphasizes dialogue above everything else. Players take on the role of a lowly being striving to survive, forming relationships with an array of companions. Most of the campaign revolves around reading text and exploring widely creative locations, with battles occasionally sprinkled in for good measure. Thanks to its top-notch writing, Tides of Numenera manages to weave a fascinating and gripping tale. At number 9, we have Monster Hunter Rise. Capcom's franchise has long been a subject of debate among gamers regarding whether it qualifies as an RPG, but Monster Hunter Rise has enough role-playing elements to justify a recommendation. The game leans heavily into action, with a simple gameplay loop of killing monsters to collect resources to craft better gear needed to take on even bigger monsters. Although the game has a story, it is not particularly important and mainly serves as a way to move players from one zone to the next. Monster Hunter Rise is intended to be played long after the narrative stops, and its endgame can keep players engaged for hundreds of hours. With 14 weapon types, each with its own unique controls, and an extensive roster of hunts, Capcom's title has a significant replay value. Number 8, Dragon Age Origins. The addition of EA Play to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate brought with it many great RPGs, including some of the best trilogies in gaming. Dragon Age Origins is an epic adventure filled with political intrigue, narrative depth, complex combat, and unforgettable characters. While the game is at its best on PC, the Xbox 360 version is perfectly playable. Although the sequels are also worth checking out, Dragon Age arguably peaked with its first entry, setting a standard that few fantasy RPGs have come close to replicating. Number 7, Persona 4 Golden. Both Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden have made it to the Game Pass library. It is indeed a rich time for Persona fans. Everything you loved in Royal can be found in Persona 4 to some degree, and it is a fantastic feeling to delve a bit backwards into the series' history. While not as stylized as its eventual successor, Persona 4 offers one of the most charming and heartfelt stories in gaming to date. The relationships you build with your fellow characters feel just as meaningful, and the enhancements made to the graphics and gameplay heighten the experience as a whole. So if you're one of those players who dipped their toes into the Persona franchise with Persona 5, don't hesitate to dive into Persona 4. Number 6. Chained Echoes. Chained Echoes is a nostalgic journey back to classic 16-bit JRPGs that dominated the scene during the 90s. While it's true that such throwback projects have become relatively common, few titles managed to reach the heights achieved by this 2022 release. The game takes place in Volandis, a continent divided by 3 warring kingdoms. Following the use of a powerful superweapon, the nations sign a peace treaty, but not everyone intends to honor it. Players take control of a group of characters who seek to prevent war, a quest that uncovers some rather dark secrets. Chained Echoes' stunning art style fits perfectly with the story being told. While it takes inspiration from old-school JRPGs, the game isn't afraid to mix things up. Chained Echoes does away with traditional experience points, opting instead for progression through upgradable skills and crafting. This decision means that grinding is not a major factor, allowing players to prioritize the story. The turn-based combat system introduces a unique concept with an overdrive bar that affects player performance depending on its state. So if you're a fan of classic RPGs, Chained Echoes is definitely worth checking out. Number 5. Ni no Kuni 2: The Revenant Kingdom. This JRPG is not simply a retread of its predecessor. It features reasonably different combat and completely removes the Pokemon-like monster taming system. As a result, people who did not like Wrath of the White Witch might still enjoy its sequel, especially if they appreciate hack-and-slash action similar to something like the Tales franchise. Although it struggles to match the whimsy and heart of its more decorated older sibling, the Revenant Kingdom still succeeds in telling a gripping story filled with memorable characters. Visually, the game looks gorgeous, and Level 5 did an impressive job of replicating Studio Ghibli's aesthetic for the cutscenes. As the Revenant Kingdom has very few direct ties to its predecessor, newcomers can jump straight into the sequel without feeling like they are missing out. It is arguably more satisfying to play than Wrath of the White Witch, although both games rank among the best RPGs on Game Pass. Number 4 on our list is Darkest Dungeon, a cutthroat game that takes no prisoners. In this game, players inherit a mansion sitting on top of a strange dungeon and hire heroes to explore the creepy labyrinth within. Like most RPGs, these characters come in a variety of classes and can be leveled up. However, unlike most RPGs, death is permanent in Darkest Dungeon. There is nothing quite as infuriating as watching a powerful hero meet their maker, never to be seen again. Red Hook's game uses a turn-based combat system that centers around parties of 4 characters. While exploring the dungeon, players must monitor their heroes' stress levels along with a plethora of other mechanics, making it quite a challenge. Number 3 is The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. Since its highly anticipated release in 2011, it has essentially ruled the open-world RPG roost, which alone should be enough to showcase its necessity for any RPG fan's collection. While it can be accused of shedding the deeper mechanical complexities of its predecessors, the fact remains that Bethesda did more than a few things right. Skyrim preserves the franchise's legacy of beautifully designed open worlds filled with enough content to keep even the most dedicated gamers busy for years while expanding the scope of its audience exponentially. It's fair to say that Skyrim is a must-play game for any RPG fan, and it's easy to understand why. At number 2, we have Death's Door, a game that manages to make reaping souls charming and delightful. It takes you on a journey alongside an employee of the Reaping Commission headquarters, and while this might sound boring, the engaging gameplay and intriguing narrative make it a true adventure despite its bureaucratic premise. There's a mystery to uncover, but there's more to Death's Door than just its story. The game features a fantastic art style coupled with straightforward combat controls, making it easy for anyone to immerse themselves in wondrous environments. Despite the heavy subject matter, Death's Door goes over it with a great sense of humor, making it incredibly approachable. It's amazing how a little crow wielding magic and a sword can feel so memorable, but Death's Door proves that it's possible. And finally, at number 1, we have Persona 5 Royal. While it doesn't stray far from conventional JRPG elements, its flashy style and panache make it feel remarkably modern. The art direction goes a long way in bringing the game world to life. The story follows a group of high school students, each with their own ambitions and plots, working together to stop the wicked intentions of the surrounding adults. In our opinion, Persona 5 Royal stands out as the best RPG on Game Pass, not just because of its engaging story and varied gameplay elements, but also because of its sheer scope and attention to detail. Every aspect of the game, from the beautifully designed environments to the unique personas and social links of each character, feels meticulously crafted and expertly executed. Whether you're a die-hard JRPG fan or just looking for a captivating and immersive gaming experience, Persona 5 Royal is a game that simply cannot be missed. Thank you for staying with us while we went through our list. We hope you have discovered some new titles that you would like to add to your gaming queue. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons so that you do not miss out on our future content. Until next time, happy gaming!